2026, the smartest people won't be the loudest, they'll be the quietest and the most prepared. See, in life, trees that bear fruit bend down, empty vessels, they make the most noise. If you keep announcing your moves, the world starts voting on your life, and the moment people vote, doubt enters, comparison enters, pressure enters. Today, I want to talk about one forgotten superpower: moving in silence, working so quietly that success becomes the announcement. When you keep everything loud, your mind becomes noisy as well. And when the mind is noisy, energy starts leaking without you realizing it. Silence protects your energy because energy is sensitive. It responds to attention. Where attention goes, energy flows. The moment you tell people what you are planning to do, something very strange happens inside you. Your brain receives a false sense of achievement. You haven't done the work yet, but the appreciation, the reactions, the wow, and the great idea start arriving early. And when reward comes before effort, discipline weakens. This is why many people feel motivated after talking about their goals. But a few days later, they feel empty. Not tired from work, tired from stalking. Every conversation costs energy. Every explanation costs energy. Every justification costs energy. And when you explain your dreams to 10 people, you are not multiplying motivation, you are dividing focus. Silence is not weakness. Silence is conservation. Think about your phone battery. If you keep too many apps running in the background, the battery drains faster. Even if you are not using the phone. Your mind works the same way. When too many people know your plans, their expectations, questions, doubts, jokes, and comparisons keep running in the background of your mind. Did they approve? What will they say if I fail? What if I change my plan? What if I disappoint them? This mental noise quietly steals your strength. Silence protects you from unnecessary emotional expenses. Because not every reaction is supportive. Some reactions are not negative, but they are heavy. They make you start proving instead of progressing. And let me tell you something very honest. Most people don't listen to understand you. They listen to measure themselves against you. Some will compare. Some will compete, some will doubt, some will casually discourage you for your own good. And even if they say nothing, their silence can still disturb your peace. When you move in silence, you move with purity. Your actions remain clean. Your intentions remain intact. You are working for growth, not applause. Silence also protects your energy from ego. Because the more you talk about what you're going to do, the more your identity gets attached to it. And when identity gets attached, fear increases. Now it's no longer I am trying something. Now it becomes this is who I am, Paul. So if you fail, it feels like as you failed, not the attempt. Silence keeps your ego out of the process. It allows you to experiment, to change direction, to learn quietly, to fail privately, and to rise confidently. Have you noticed something? The most dangerous distractions don't come from enemies. They come from unnecessary conversations. Someone asks, "What are you doing these days?" And you spend 20 minutes explaining your future instead of building it. Someone gives advice you didn't ask for. Now you spend the whole night thinking whether they are right or wrong. Someone laughs lightly at your idea. You say you don't care, but your energy says otherwise. Silence saves you from these leaks. Nature itself respects silence. A seed grows in darkness. A child grows in the womb. Diamonds form under pressure, quietly. Nothing powerful announces itself while it's becoming powerful. When you work silently, your energy stays focused. Your mornings feel lighter. Your decisions feel clearer. Your confidence becomes internal, not borrowed. You stop needing people to believe in you because you believe in the process. And the most beautiful part, when success finally arrives, it arrives with peace. No anxiety of what will people say, no pressure to maintain an image, no exhaustion from explaining how hard it was, just calm satisfaction. So if you want to protect your energy in 2026, stop leaking it through unnecessary words. Let your effort absorb your attention. Let your work consume your thoughts. Speak less, build more, and one day, without saying a single word, your results will speak so loudly that silence will become your signature. Not everyone deserves access to your plans, and understanding this single truth can save you years of confusion, frustration, and self-doubt. We often assume that because someone is close to us, they automatically qualify to hear our dreams. But closeness in relationship does not always mean closeness in mindset. See, every person listens to your plans through the lens of their own experiences, fears, limitations, and beliefs. They don't hear your future, they hear as their past. So when you tell someone your plans and they respond with doubt, it's not always because the plan is weak. Sometimes it's because they once failed at something similar, and instead of healing that failure, they unknowingly project it onto you. That's why privacy is not secrecy. Privacy is discernment. Secrecy comes from fear. Privacy comes from wisdom. You're not hiding because you're scared. You're protecting because you're building. Think about this carefully. When a plan is new, it is fragile. It doesn't need opinions. It needs time. But people are impatient listeners. They want instant clarity, instant proof, instant results. When you can't give them that, they start filling the gaps with assumptions. They ask questions you're not ready to answer. They suggest changes you're not ready to make. They highlight risks you already know about. And slowly, without realizing it, your confidence starts outsourcing itself to other people. You begin adjusting your dream so it sounds more acceptable. You shrink it so it sounds more realistic. You soften it so it doesn't make others uncomfortable. This is the danger of giving early access. Not everyone wants to see you fail, but not everyone wants to see you grow either. Your growth silently threatens people who are comfortable staying the same. So they won't attack your plan directly. They'll question your timing. They'll question your ability. They'll question your stability. All wrapped nicely in concern. And because they sound caring, you listen. But here's the truth. A dream explained to the wrong person starts needing defense. And anything that needs constant defense starts losing power. Privacy gives your dream oxygen. It allows it to grow without interference. When you keep your plans to yourself, something beautiful happens. You stop performing, you stop convincing, you stop proving, you start working. You wake up with clarity instead of confusion. You move with intention instead of explanation. You make decisions based on alignment, not approval. And let's be honest, most people don't need to know what you're doing. They just want something to talk about. Information travels faster than understanding. And once your plan becomes public property, everyone feels entitled to an opinion. If it works, they say, I knew it. If it doesn't, they say, I warned you. Either way, peace is lost. If privacy protects your peace, it also protects your flexibility. When fewer people know your plans, you're allowed to change them. You're allowed to pivot. You're allowed to pause. You're allowed to restart without the pressure of explaining why. But when everyone knows your direction, changing course feels like failure, even when it's growth. You stay stuck not because the path is right, but because too many people are watching. Wisdom knows this. Not every chapter needs an audience. Some chapters are meant to be written quietly. Even in ancient times, knowledge was passed selectively. Not everyone was taught everything, because not everyone was ready. Your plans are also a form of knowledge. They deserve the same respect. Share them with people who have earned that access, people who have walked ahead of you, people who can guide, not confuse, people whose silence is as supportive as their words. And sometimes that person is just you. You don't always need advice. Sometimes you need trust in yourself. Privacy strengthens self-trust. It tells your mind, I don't need permission to begin. It tells your heart, I don't need applause to continue. And when the results finally appear, they appear grounded, stable, undeniable. No debates, no explanations, no long speeches, just quiet confidence. So remember this, your life is not a group project. Your destiny does not need a committee. Choose silence not because you're afraid to speak, but because you're serious about becoming. Let people meet these years result, not the rehearsal. That is not secrecy. That is maturity. Progress loves quiet environments because real growth is delicate before it becomes strong. When something is new, it needs protection more than promotion. Noise creates pressure, and pressure too early can break what is still forming. Think about how learning actually happens. When you are trying something new, your mind is experimenting, failing, adjusting, and understanding. This process is slow, internal, and deeply personal. It does not perform well under observation. The moment too many eyes are watching, you stop learning freely. You start acting carefully. You become less curious and more cautious. Quiet environments give you permission to be imperfect. In silence, you are allowed to make mistakes without embarrassment. You are allowed to ask foolish questions without judgment. You are allowed to try again without explaining why the first attempt failed. But when progress becomes public, mistakes feel heavier, every error feels recorded, every delay feels like a disappointment. And so, instead of moving forward honestly, people start pretending to move forward confidently. Silence removes that performance pressure. A quiet environment also protects you from comparison. When you work loudly, you constantly measure yourself against others. Their speed becomes your stress, their success becomes your insecurity. But growth has its own rhythm. Some paths require patience, some require endurance. Some require long periods of invisible effort. In silence, you respect your own pace. You stop rushing outcomes just to look successful. You stop forcing timelines that are not aligned with your reality. You stop chasing validation instead of mastery. Noise pushes urgency. Silence allows depth. And depth is where real progress happens. Quiet environments help you develop skill instead of image. When no one is watching, you focus on getting better, not looking better. You spend more time practicing than posting, more time refining than explaining, more time building foundations than decorating walls. And foundations are not glamorous. They are repetitive. They are boring. They require consistency without applause. Only silence supports that kind of work. There is also emotional safety in quiet progress. When no one knows exactly what stage you're in, you feel less pressure to be strong all the time. You don't have to pretend confidence when you feel unsure. You don't have to smile when you feel stuck. You don't have to justify slow days. This emotional honesty keeps burnout away. Many people don't fail because they are incapable. They fail because they are exhausted from pretending. Quiet environments allow you to be real. They also sharpen focus. When you're not constantly updating people on your journey, your attention stays with the journey itself. Your mornings become intentional. Your evenings become reflective. Your mind stops rehearsing explanations and starts reviewing actions. And with focus comes clarity. Clarity about what works. Clarity about what doesn't. Clarity about what needs to change. Noise distracts you with reactions. Silence connects you with reality. Progress also needs space to mature. Just like fruit picked too early lacks sweetness, growth revealed too early lacks stability. You might achieve something quickly, but without depth, it doesn't last. Quiet growth takes longer, but it holds stronger. It allows confidence to develop from competence, not compliments. It allows discipline to form without external pressure. It allows identity to emerge naturally, not artificially. And when confidence comes from inside, it doesn't shake easily. Quiet environments also protect your motivation. When progress is private, motivation comes from purpose, not praise. You work because it matters to you, not because people are watching. This creates consistency. And consistency, not intensity, creates lasting success. When the environment is quiet, setbacks don't feel public. They feel instructional. You don't panic when something doesn't work. You analyze it, you adjust, you continue. But in noisy environments, setbacks feel humiliating. They trigger self-doubt and defensiveness. Silence removes that emotional weight. And finally, quiet progress builds inner stability. You learn to trust the process without needing reassurance. You stop asking, "Am I doing enough?" You start asking, "Am I doing what matters?" This shift changes everything. When progress matures in silence, the outcome speaks with authority. Not because it was announced, but because it is solid. People don't need explanations. They feel the substance. So if you want real progress, create quiet around your efforts. Protect your early stages. Respect your pace. Let your growth happen where there is less noise and more truth. Because what is built quietly stands confidently when it finally steps into the light. People test your ideas before life does, and that is often where the damage begins. Life tests you with experience. People test you with opinions. And the problem is, opinions come early, loud, and without responsibility. When you share an idea with someone, they don't test it the way reality will. They don't test it with effort, patience, or commitment. They test it with assumptions. They ask questions that sound intelligent but are rooted in fear. What if it doesn't work? Has anyone else done this? Do you really think this is practical? These questions don't strengthen the idea. They shift your focus from building to defending. Instead of exploring possibilities, you start justifying choices. Instead of improving the plan, you start explaining it. And slowly, the energy that should have gone into action gets consumed by arguments that lead nowhere. Life's tests come with lessons. People's tests come with doubts. And when doubts arrive before discipline is built, they shake you. Most people are not trying to destroy your idea. They are trying to protect their understanding of the world. Your idea challenges their comfort. It threatens their belief about what is possible. So they respond with logic that supports their limitations, not your potential. They test your idea using their courage, not yours. Their risk tolerance, not yours. Their experiences, not your vision. That's an unfair test. An idea needs incubation. Just like a newborn cannot survive harsh environments, a new idea cannot survive rough scrutiny. Before life tests your idea with results, failure, and growth, people test it with premature judgment. And premature judgment creates premature self-doubt. You begin to question things you were once excited about. Not because something is wrong, but because someone sounded confident while questioning you. Confidence is contagious. Even when it's wrong, one strong opinion can overpower 10 weak convictions. This is why timing matters. An idea needs to be tested by doing, not by debating. Reality will test your plan through effort, through obstacles, through feedback that comes from results, not assumptions. But when people test your idea first, you might abandon it before reality even gets a chance. Many dreams die in conversations, not in failure. You walk away thinking, maybe this isn't for me, when the truth is, maybe this wasn't for them. Life's tests are honest. They show you what works and what doesn't. People's tests are emotional. They reflect fear, jealousy, confusion, or limited exposure. And because they speak with concern, you listen. But concern without understanding becomes limitation. When too many people test your idea early, you lose ownership of it. It stops feeling like a personal calling and starts feeling like a group-approved project. You begin modifying it to reduce criticism instead of increasing effectiveness. The edges get softened. The ambition gets trimmed. The originality gets diluted. Eventually, the idea becomes safe, and safety kills greatness. Life would have tested your idea with resistance that builds resilience. But people test it with doubt that builds hesitation. Hesitation is dangerous. It slows momentum, it weakens commitment, it invites procrastination disguised as thinking it through. And while you're thinking, time moves on. Another damage caused by early testing is confusion. Different people test your idea in different ways. One says it's too risky. Another says it's not ambitious enough. One says start now. Another says wait for the right time. And now your mind is split. Instead of one clear direction, you carry 10 conflicting voices. Instead of inner guidance, you have external noise. Life tests are linear, people tests are chaotic. Life says, try this, see what happens, adjust. People say, what if, what if, what if? And too many what ifs stop the let me try. Silence protects your idea from unnecessary testing. It allows you to take it to the only examiner that matters, experience. When life tests your idea, it doesn't judge you, it trains you. Failure becomes feedback, difficulty becomes skill, delay becomes discipline. But when people test your idea, failure becomes embarrassment, difficulty becomes self-doubt, delay becomes shame. That emotional weight is heavy. And finally, understand this, life will test you anyway. You cannot avoid that exam, so don't add extra exams from people who won't sit with you during the preparation. Let your ideas face reality first. Let them grow through action. Let them earn confidence through results. And when people finally see what you've built, they won't ask questions. They'll ask how you did it. That is when testing turns into respect. Execution matters more than explanation because life rewards what is done, not what is discussed. Many people are brilliant talkers. They can explain their vision with passion, detail, and confidence. They can describe what they do, how they will do it, and why it will work. But explanation, no matter how impressive, does not create outcomes. Action does. The danger with too much explanation is that it creates an illusion of progress. You feel productive because you spoke confidently. You feel accomplished because people listened. But when the conversation ends, nothing in the real world has changed. Execution is quiet. It doesn't feel dramatic. It doesn't always feel inspiring. Most days, it feels repetitive and uncomfortable. That is why many people prefer explaining over executing. Explanation feeds the ego. Execution feeds the future. When you explain your plans repeatedly, you start mistaking clarity for commitment. You assume that because you understand your goal well, you are close to achieving it. But understanding and doing live in different worlds. Life doesn't measure intentions, it measures movement. You can explain a workout routine perfectly and still be unhealthy. You can explain a business idea clearly and still be broke. You can explain discipline beautifully and still be inconsistent. Execution closes that gap. Another reason execution matters more is because explanations invite opinions. Every explanation opens the door to feedback, wanted or unwanted, and once feedback enters, focus starts shifting. Instead of asking, "What should I do next?" you start asking, "What will people think?" This slows momentum. Execution, on the other hand, creates its own authority. When something is working, it doesn't need defense, it doesn't need validation. Results speak without effort. There is also humility in execution. When you stop explaining and start doing, you accept that learning will happen on the way. You allow reality to shape your understanding instead of trying to control perception. Explanation tries to manage image. Execution builds substance, and substance lasts. Execution also builds confidence the right way. Not the loud, fragile confidence that depends on praise, but the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you can show up even when no one is watching. Every small action completed strengthens self-trust. Every task finished becomes evidence that you can rely on yourself. This kind of confidence cannot be shaken by criticism. When you explain too much, you become attached to expectations. You start carrying the pressure of delivering what you promised. And pressure, when self-created, drains joy from the process. Execution frees you from that pressure. You are no longer trying to meet expectations, you are responding to reality. Reality doesn't care what you said you would do. It only responds to what you actually do. Execution also simplifies life. You stop rehearsing conversations. You stop preparing answers for imaginary questions. You stop justifying delays. Your mind becomes cleaner. What's the next step? You do it, then the next. That simplicity creates momentum. Momentum doesn't come from motivation, it comes from movement. And movement comes from execution. Another important truth is that explanation often comes from insecurity. When we are unsure, we talk more. We explain to convince others, and sometimes to convince ourselves. But when you are executing consistently, you don't need to convince anyone. Your direction becomes clear through your actions. People stop asking, "What are you planning?" They start noticing, "You're really serious about this." Execution changes how people treat you. Not because you spoke differently, but because you moved differently. Also, explanation fixes ideas in the mind. Execution allows ideas to evolve. When you explain something publicly, you feel pressure to stick to it. Even if you learn something better later, execution keeps you flexible. You adjust based on results, not reactions. This adaptability is powerful. Life is unpredictable. Plans change, conditions shift. Execution keeps you aligned with reality instead of stuck in old explanations. And finally, execution respects time. Time doesn't wait for clarity, confidence, or perfect understanding. It moves. While you are explaining what you plan to do someday, someone else is already doing something imperfect today. And imperfect action beats perfect explanation every single time. Because results don't come from ideas, they come from effort. So choose execution. Let your days be filled with work, not words. Let your progress be measured in steps taken, not speeches given. And when success arrives, you won't need to explain how it happened. Your work will already have said everything that needed to be said. Silence builds emotional strength in a way that noise never can, because it teaches you how to stand without leaning on external validation. Most people don't realize how much of their emotional energy is tied to reactions. A compliment lifts them, a comment disturbs them, a question unsettles them, a lack of response makes them anxious. When your life is loud, your emotions become reactive. You start living on feedback instead of inner stability. Silence breaks that dependency. When you stop announcing what you're doing, you stop waiting for approval. And when you stop waiting for approval, something powerful happens inside you. You start listening to yourself. At first, this is uncomfortable, because without external voices, you meet your own thoughts more clearly. Your doubts become visible. Your fears become honest. But this is not weakness. This is strength being formed. Emotional strength is not about feeling confident all the time. It's about remaining steady when confidence is absent. Silence trains you for that steadiness. When no one knows what you're working on, there is no applause to push you forward. No encouragement to rescue you on slow days. No praise to boost your mood. You still show up. That consistency builds resilience. You learn to work without motivation, to continue without reassurance, to trust effort over emotion. This is emotional maturity. Silence also reduces emotional volatility. When you share less, fewer people can trigger you. Not every opinion enters your mind. Not every comparison reaches your heart. Not every judgment shakes your self-worth. You become selective about what affects you. And selectivity is power. When your journey is private, criticism loses its grip, because criticism needs access to hurt you. Silence denies that access. You stop defending yourself. You stop explaining your choices. You stop reacting to misunderstandings. Reaction drains emotional energy. Silence preserves it. There is also deep courage in silence. It takes courage to work without recognition, to believe without witnesses, to commit without applause. This courage hardens your emotional core. You stop needing people to understand you. You stop needing people to agree with you. You stop needing people to validate your direction. Your peace becomes internal, not negotiated. Silence teaches patience with yourself. When progress is private, you are kinder during setbacks. You don't feel embarrassed for slowing down. You don't feel ashamed for changing pace. You don't feel pressured to look strong when you feel uncertain. You allow yourself to be human. That self-compassion strengthens emotional endurance. Noise demands performance. Silence allows honesty. In honesty, healing happens. Silence also helps you separate self-worth from outcomes. When fewer people know what you're aiming for, failure doesn't feel like a public verdict on your ability. It feels like information. And when failure is information, you grow. Emotional strength is built when failure doesn't break identity. Silence protects that identity. Another powerful effect of silence is emotional clarity. When you're not busy explaining your life, you start understanding it. You notice patterns, you recognize habits, you see what drains you and what fuels you. This awareness leads to better choices, and better choices create emotional stability. Silence slows down emotional reactions. You stop responding impulsively. Instead of reacting immediately, you pause, you reflect, you respond intentionally. This pause is the space where emotional intelligence lives. People who are loud often react. People who are silent often respond. That difference changes everything. Silence also strengthens boundaries. When you speak less, you reveal less. And when you reveal less, fewer people feel entitled to your emotions. You stop oversharing. You stop carrying other people's expectations. You stop absorbing unnecessary emotional weight. Your emotional space becomes cleaner. And a clean emotional space is easier to manage. Over time, silence rewires how you handle pressure. You stop panicking under stress. You stop overthinking under uncertainty because you have practiced staying calm without external support. That is true emotional strength. It's not loud confidence. It's quiet control. It's the ability to feel deeply without being overwhelmed, to care without collapsing, to move forward without emotional drama. Silence gives you that ability. So when you choose silence, you are not withdrawing from life. You are training for it. You are building an inner foundation that does not shake with opinions, delays, or doubts. And when the world finally notices your results, you won't need their approval to enjoy them. Because your emotional strength was built long before anyone was watching. When you move quietly, distractions reduce in ways most people never expect because silence simplifies your mental environment. Distraction is not always noise outside. Very often, it is noise inside. And that internal noise usually comes from too many voices having access to your journey. When you tell people what you are doing, they don't just hear it once, their reactions stay with you. Their suggestions replay in your mind. Their doubts echo during your quiet moments. Each voice becomes a thread pulling your attention in a different direction. Silence cuts those threads. When fewer people know your plans, fewer opinions follow you into your day, your mind stays focused on the task, not the commentary around it. This is powerful. Distractions don't always appear as obvious interruptions. Sometimes they appear as thoughts like, maybe I should do it this way instead. Maybe they were right. Maybe I should slow down. Maybe I should try something else. These thoughts feel responsible. They feel intelligent. But when they come too often, they paralyze progress. Quiet movement protects you from overthinking. It allows you to commit fully to a direction without constantly second-guessing it. When you move loudly, you feel obligated to entertain input. When you move quietly, you feel free to execute. Freedom increases focus. Silence also reduces distraction by removing the urge to impress. When no one knows what you're working on, there's no pressure to make it look impressive. You stop choosing tasks that look good and start choosing tasks that matter. This shifts attention from appearance to effectiveness.